Hello, my name is Marco, and in this presentation, I will be discussing how fictional aliens are portrayed through media. With aliens coming to mind, an idea of otherness also is intertwined with them. Otherness is how the alien characters are different from humans, and sometimes that is used to show how the aliens aren't really quite as different as what humans are. Throughout this presentation, the movies that will be analyzed and shown are Thor: The Dark World, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, and Avatar. In this discussion, I will be talking about how these movies are able to characterize the species speaking a constructed language to be completely different from humans. When writers are presenting aliens, there are a couple ways to make the aliens seem different from humans. The most effective way is to give the alien a constructed language. It is effective because as soon as anyone sees an alien and hears that they are not speaking a language that is familiar to them, they immediately know that they are not human, thus giving off the otherness that needs to be given. In Thor: The Dark World, the constructed language is called Shivatsith, and when the creator was making the language, the main thing he was focused on was grabbing things from Finnish, and one of the main things he grabbed was the Finnish harmony phenomenon. By doing this, he was grabbing sounds that is found in other languages that is not presented in English to put into the language. And it helps it give it this otherness feel because the main audience for the movie is English speaking. So by having other sounds, it's very easy for them to hear and see, yes, that is not English, so thus it is very alien-like. Another thing that is sound-based that he added was the intervallal exposation rule. And that rule is taking stops like sounds like p, d, and b, and it changes them into a smooth h. And since English has these stopping sounds, and it's very rare to have only this very smoothness to English, it gives it this otherness again because the sounding is very obvious and kind of different. In Star Trek, one of the constructed languages is Klingon. And when it was being developed, the main focus was to make it sound as alien as possible, while also making sure that the actors could be able to say and pronounce it without much trouble. One of the main things that he was focusing on was giving Klingon the use of guttural and harsh sounding sounds. Since English doesn't really have those kind of sounds, it is very easy to convey an otherness with them, along with he added specific stops within Klingon to kind of help with that sounding of difference. Another thing he added to Klingon was the choice of syllable structure. In Klingon, the syllable structure is every consonant must be followed by a vowel and a consonant. The only time this is broken is in prefixes. And since English doesn't have this kind of rule with its language and syllables, it's very easy to hear that this is different because all of the syllables sound like with those sounds in one. In the movie Avatar, the constructed language is Navi, and the main aspect was the use of ejective consonants. Navi removes the voice plosive like b and duh, and then replaces them with the ejective consonant, which is this helps with the sound because the ejective consonants gives it a little bit of a stop, and in English there isn't really like a whole lot of stops outside in the words, so it gives this difference because again it is different from English. Another thing they added to Navi was the use of vowel clusters in the language. A vowel cluster is a long string of vowels together to be part of words, so a word could have as many as 6 vowels together in one part of the word. And each vowel in a vowel cluster is its own syllable. And so like, for example, you could have a word with up to 6 syllables and 4 of them could be just one vowel cluster of 4. And that is very helpful because it is very rare to hear very long strings of vowels in English. That adds to, again, to the sound of Navi being different to English speakers. In the comparison of these 3 languages, all of them pick sounds and use parts of other human languages to help portray this otherness of these species by having them have a language that sounds very different to the main target audience of English speakers. In sci-fi stories, aliens have many characteristics. Writers choose for them, going from their appearance to their beliefs to also along with like the main goal the species will potentially have to like wanting to complete. In Thor the Dark World, they have a species called the Dark Elves, and at the start of the movie is given a bunch of context of who they are and what they want. Specifically that they are born of darkness, and that adds to like a difference since most of other species within the movie aren't born of darkness. And the main goal of the species, why they're fighting, is to bring the universe back to this darkness that they want. So that helps with making them different. And specifically throughout the movie, with these simple goals and mindsets, it really alienates them for the other species that are presented as good, and kind of forcing the Dark Elves into this bad / evil kind of species that they are not good no matter what. In Star Trek, there is a species called the Klingons, and they speak the Klingon constructive language. And the main thing about Klingons and about Star Trek is all of the aliens have some kind of physical feature that makes them different. And Klingons, for example, in the picture in the lower left, is all Klingons, no matter who they are, what they look like, they all have a variation of like a forehead ridging to them. Another thing that helps them be different is they are a very honor-focused species, so their honor is the main thing that they are focused on as a species, and that is what they will upkeep throughout their lives. And so if they, especially like battle honor focused, especially if they are not killed in battle, but they're in a battle, they are dishonored and they will not be able to live with that, and thus will try to kill themselves. At the start of Star Trek, they were just used to add conflict and very simple conflict. But as Klingons were used more through the species and focused on a little more for the storytelling of Star Trek, they morphed in more of a neutral species as more time was spent developing and looking at them. In the movie Avatar, the species focused on is called the Navi. And the main thing that really sets them apart is their appearance being like really tall from humans. They have blue skin, and especially this pink tentacle thing that is at the end of their hair, which is shown in the lower left corner, which they use the tentacles to help connect with animals and be able to like ride them very efficiently. Another thing that separates them from specifically the audience viewing the movie is they believe that all life is sacred, and they are able to connect to their deity through the trees in the picture above, and be able to hear like the past Navi that come before them. And so thus, whenever they kill, they do it because they need to and will not waste anything from that animal. Through the time spent and looked at for the Navi, they are seen as a species that are very similar to humans, but different. And so they are just a species wanting to exist, but are being invaded by the humans wanting to invade their land for profit. This discussion has explored 3 franchises that have species speaking constructive languages to see how the franchises are able to portray otherness for these aliens, and how throughout this entire discussion otherness can be shown through how much time and worth and effort the writers have spent on the species. They can be bad based upon little amount of work, and so they are just seen as the opposite group, but not really an understanding why. The neutral is because there wasn't a whole lot time spent on them at the start, but they were more seen as what they are and what they want as a species because more time was spent on them. While the good species was shown to be not so different from humans and just wanting to like live and exist and how they are, because they were shown what they do, how they live, and how they believe, and that was shown how they wanted, how they were similar to humans in their own ways.